Okay, ISO push for ankles. This should be a overcoming isometric, meaning it is against an unmovable object, and we can contract as hard as we possibly can without any position change. So I'm using a bar stuck through the holes of the rack, so that's really solid. You could use a barbell loaded with a lot of weight so you can't move it, or these rollers that attach to a hole in the rig and then just serve as this rigid thing to push into are excellent as well. Good for split squats, other stuff. So figure out a setup that works for you. You're definitely going to want padding in the bar to push up against your knee. So I'm going to use this pad that fits around the bar, and I'm also going to wedge in here so that I feel as comfortable as possible. I like to put a plate on the floor to hang the heel down. We want a floating heel, and this will just make sure that happens. So I'm going to wedge my foot onto that plate, and already I feel a little bit of pressure into this bar because there's just not that much space here. But my heel is hanging at about the same level as my forefoot, maybe even a little bit lower than my forefoot. I'm going to wedge a little bit extra padding in here so I just feel super locked in. I'm going to get my weight into my foot and then start to contract to gas pedal into the floor, right into that bar, and contract as hard as I can or as hard as prescribed based on what I'm asking you to do. Ramp it up, hold it there, and then ramp it back down. We should feel no pain during that, no offloading pain, and you should feel super locked in, like your position doesn't change once you ramp up your contraction. If your heel rises a lot, then you probably need to lower the bar and like use some sort of shimming to get the position right. Next up, we have a standing variation of this. It's going to be a little more run specific since we're driving through the entire leg and we're on 1 foot, not quite as isolated as that seated version, but if you can tolerate a little bit of push and a little bit of compression through the spine, this is probably the better way to go. So for here, I've got that same bar set up at a height where if I get underneath it and have my feet right underneath the bar, I'm kind of wedged in here, but I've got a tiny little bit of knee bend. So if I put my foot back on that plate or mat, whatever you want to use to get a little bit of a shim there, I should have my heel about level with my forefoot, my ball of my foot right underneath the bar, my knee a little bit forward, and my hips pushing forward so that's stacked under the bar as well. And then in that position, once I'm locked in, I just start gas pedaling into the floor, driving with calves. Your entire leg's going to be pushing, but we really want to feel this below the knee. Push with a super stiff foot for as long and as hard as you're prescribed, and then ramp back down. And try the other side. Push my knee forward, feel how that wedges me between the floor and the bar, and then start to gas pedal smoothly, ramping up that contraction as best I can. Come back down. Shouldn't feel any crunching in your spine, any sensation in your back at all, really. It should just feel really nice and locked in. But if you sit back, it's probably going to feel off if I have my hips way back behind the plane of the bar. So it's really important that I push forward and be nice and tall, kind of like this really good ground contact position if you're sprinting, or imagine like a down step position. The last option I have for you to set this up, this ankle iso push, is with a chain or a strap. If you're able to secure that really well into the floor, I've got this kind of hook here, then you can use a belt and find the right length so that when you're standing on the floor, or for me hanging my heel off of this edge of the rack, that I've got tension in the chain. I've got my heel floating, but not too low, not too high. And then I can start to drive pressure into that and get the same locked in push, pulling on my hips instead of pushing down on my knee or pushing down on my spine. So it's really about experimenting with the equipment that you have access to and finding the setup that feels the most comfortable to you so you can drive really high effort into it. If you have any questions, send me a message, but this is a ankle iso push.